Welcome back to the channel. What happens when a family is not just judged by society, but put on trial for the way they love? Picture this. The dawn hasn't even broken. The world's still soaked in that quiet blue hour before sunrise. Yet outside the courthouse, there's no peace. The air is trembling. Barricades line the steps like prison bars. Camera lights flash through the fog. Reporters huddle shoulder to shoulder, clutching microphones like daggers, waiting for the first soundbite of the day that will make them famous. Protesters chant with fury, their handmade signs trembling in their hands. Some reading, "Love is a lie," others, "Let them be." Tears, anger, confusion, and all spilling together into one roaring storm of judgment. And through it all, one family climbs those cold marble steps. Each footstep sounds like a heartbeat, echoing through the stone walls and the chaos beyond. They move together, but you can feel it. Each of them carries a different weight, a different memory, a different regret. The years of hidden whispers, of secret tears behind closed doors, of smiles that mask the fear that one day this would happen. That their love would be questioned not by God, not by their faith, but by the law itself. At the center of it all, Kody Brown, the man the world once called a reality star. The man whose life had been broadcast, edited, and consumed by millions. But the man standing here now is not the one people think they know. His hair, once perfectly styled for TV, now gray with exhaustion. His eyes, once bright with confidence, hollowed by sleepless nights and the weight of consequences he can no longer escape. Behind him, the women who once defined his world. Mary, the first wife, whose belief in eternal family once burned brighter than any doubt. Janelle, the quiet stabilizer, the peacekeeper who fed, clothed, and shielded her children when the storms of faith and jealousy grew too loud. Christine, the rebel heart who walked away, not to destroy, but to save her children from a love that had become too painful to bear. And Robyn, the last and only legal wife, standing torn between guilt and devotion, her eyes carrying the confusion of a woman who never asked for this war, but somehow became its symbol. As the courthouse doors swing open, the crowd falls into a stunned silence. The Browns enter not as stars, but as defendants. The clicking cameras fade into whispers. The marble hallway swallows the sound of their footsteps as if the building itself is holding its breath. This is not a new season of Sister Wives. This is not another episode to binge on your couch. This is real. This is what happens when a television story bleeds into the courtroom, when the people you once rooted for become the accused. The stakes are no longer fame or ratings. They are freedom, family, faith, and the definition of love in America. So let me ask you, and I want you to really think about this. What would you do if the law told you your love was illegal? If the only way to protect your children was to destroy the life you built with your own hands? If the world that once celebrated your story turned its cameras to capture your downfall? Because for Kody Brown and his family, this is not entertainment. This is survival. And the question that hangs over this courtroom like a storm cloud is simple. Can love outlive the law? Or will this family's story end not with a wedding, but with a verdict? A verdict. The courtroom was silent except for the faint hum of the fluorescent lights above. The prosecutor rose from her chair, straightened her jacket, and looked directly at the woman on the witness stand. "Mrs. Brown," she said, her tone calm but cutting, "how did you meet Kody Brown?" Mary drew in a shaky breath. For a moment, her lips trembled, a flicker of memory passing behind her eyes. Then a small, wistful smile tugged at the corners of her mouth. "I met Kody through our church," she said softly. "He was nice. Goofy, actually, clumsy in a charming way, but there was a light in him. We were both searching for something bigger than ourselves, a sense of family, a place to belong. That's what drew us together." The prosecutor nodded, eyes sharp. "And did you know even then that he believed in plural marriage?" Mary hesitated, her fingers tightening around the edge of the stand. "Yes," she finally admitted. "I was raised in a faith where plural marriage was part of our belief. We talked about it before we ever got married. It wasn't forced on me. It was something I accepted. Something I chose." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. The prosecutor scribbled a note before looking back up. "And how did you feel," she asked slowly, "when Kody married Janelle, then Christine, and finally Robyn?" The air went still. Mary looked down at her trembling hands, her voice barely above a whisper. "It was complicated," she said. "There was love, but there was jealousy too. We were told that plural marriage would make us better, that it would teach us to be selfless. But it isn't simple. Sharing a husband. Sharing your home, your life. There are nights when you feel invisible. At the defense table, Kody shifted uneasily, his jaw tightening as he tried not to meet her eyes. The jurors leaned forward, their faces a mix of sympathy, shock, and doubt. The prosecutor stepped closer. "Did you ever feel," she asked carefully, "that your needs weren't being met? That you were lost in this arrangement?" Mary swallowed hard, her voice quivering but steady. "Sometimes," she confessed. "There were nights I'd sit awake and wonder, who am I outside of being Kody's wife or the children's mom?" I tried to hold everyone together, but sometimes even glue cracks under pressure. The room fell quiet. Then the prosecutor spoke again, her voice almost gentle now. "Did you ever think about leaving?" Mary's reply came out as barely a whisper. "Yes, more than once. But I stayed. For my faith, for my family. I stayed because I believed, truly believed, that things could get better." Her voice broke, and for a moment the years seemed to flash before her eyes. Birthday parties, the laughter of children echoing through crowded hallways, quiet nights where the noise faded into peace. Then came the darker memories, Christine's departure, the silence that followed, the way their world tilted but didn't quite fall apart. And now, under the harsh light of the courtroom, all of it, every joy, every heartbreak, felt exposed and fragile. The prosecutor's next question came like a knife. "Mrs. Brown," she said slowly, "did you ever see anything inside your home that made you fear for your children's safety?" Mary's eyes widened. "No, never," she said firmly. "We had problems, and what family doesn't? But our home was full of love. Our children were our life. If anything, we protected them too much from the world outside." The prosecutor's tone hardened again. "And yet you chose to live a lifestyle that the state defines as illegal. Did you ever fear your children would be taken from you?" Mary's voice cracked. "Every single day," she said. "That fear was our shadow. That's why we hid. That's why we moved. We did everything to shield our children. We weren't dangerous. We were just different." The jury shifted uncomfortably. You could see it on their faces. They weren't just listening to testimony. They were feeling it. The fear, the shame. The exhaustion of living a life constantly judged. The prosecutor paused, letting the silence do its work, then continued. "Let's talk about the show. Sister Wives put your family on television. Did you believe that sharing your story would make your life safer? Or more dangerous?" Mary's breath caught. She looked up, first at the judge, then at Kody, before answering. "We thought that if people could see who we truly were, if they saw the love, the laughter, the children, maybe things would change. Maybe people would stop being afraid of us. Maybe the laws would change." She paused, a tear slipping down her cheek. "But fame has a price. We lost our privacy, our safety. Sometimes I think we lost ourselves." The prosecutor leaned forward. "If you could go back," she asked, "would you do it again? Would you agree to the show knowing it would lead you here, to this courtroom?" Mary's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know," she said, voice cracking. "I wanted to help people understand us, that families like ours could be loving and happy. But I didn't know it would take everything from us." From the defense table, Kody's lawyer rose, his tone soft. "Mrs. Brown," he said kindly, "you've spoken of your hardships. Can you also tell the jury about the good times? The moments that made it all worth it?" Mary smiled faintly through her tears. "There were so many," she said. "We celebrated every birthday, every milestone. Our house was never silent, never empty. We had love and enough to fill every room." "And did Kody support you as a husband and a father?" the lawyer asked. Mary nodded slowly. "He tried. He made mistakes, but he loved us. He loves his children. He worked hard to keep us safe, to provide for us. I wish people could see that side of him, not just the man they think they know from TV." "Thank you, Mrs. Brown," the lawyer said gently. The judge called for a recess. Mary rose from the stand, her knees trembling. Kody met her gaze, eyes filled with gratitude, but also something deeper. He saw in her what he hadn't seen in years, not fear, but freedom. Outside in the hallway, the family gathered. Janelle hugged Mary tightly. "You were so brave," she whispered. Christine stood nearby, arms folded, but her expression soft. "Thank you," she said quietly. Kody placed a hand on Mary's shoulder. "I know this wasn't easy. I'm proud of you." Mary shook her head. "This isn't about pride, Kody," she said, her voice low but firm. "This is about survival. Our children deserve to know the truth. Reporters swarmed outside the courtroom doors, shouting questions, snapping photos, while inside, the echo of Mary's testimony still hung in the air like smoke. When the judge's gavel struck again, signaling the next session, the energy had shifted. Something had broken, and something new had begun. The prosecution rose again, remote in hand, her eyes cold with determination. "Your Honor," she said, "with permission, I would like to present video evidence, footage from sister wives." The defense objected. "It's edited, sensationalized." But the judge overruled. "Admissible," he said. The lights dimmed. The giant screen flickered to life. And suddenly, the Brown family's private living room, the laughter, the chaos, the tender moments once filmed for TV, was playing out under oath. The first clip showed a family dinner, Kody at the head of the table, children laughing, wives speaking over one another, the noise of life itself. Once, America had watched this scene and smiled. But today, in this courtroom, it looked different. Not like a family, but like evidence. On the screen, Christine's voice rang out, "We're not hurting anyone. We just want to live as we choose." The prosecutor paused the footage, turning to the jury. "You see, this wasn't hidden. It was broadcast to millions. They chose to defy the law and on camera." Kody clenched his fists under the table. What had once been courage now looked like confession. Then came the next clip. Mary, sitting in her confessional chair, her voice trembling. "Some days I wonder if it's worth the risk. If one day the law will come for us." The prosecutor let that line hang in the air. "They knew," she said. "They knew this day would come." Across the room, the Brown children sat in stunned silence. Logan, Aspen, Maddie. Their childhood memories now played before strangers, dissected like evidence. Some fought tears. Others looked furious. The final clip showed Robyn, her eyes red and swollen. "Sometimes," she said softly, "I feel like I'm not really a wife. Not really part of the family." The prosecutor turned to the jury, her tone cold but cutting. Even inside their own home, there was jealousy, fear, division. "Tell me, is this the kind of stability the law is meant to protect?" The screen went dark, and in that silence, the entire courtroom could feel it, the weight of a family laid bare before the world. The entire courtroom could feel it, the weight of a family laid bare before the world. The courtroom felt like a living thing that day, breathing, watching, judging. The air was heavy, thick with whispers, camera clicks, and the rustling of paper as the trial of America's most famous plural family unfolded, like a national confession. At the center of it all sat Robyn Brown, trembling under the weight of her own image projected on a courtroom screen. Her lips quivered, her eyes shimmering with the strain of holding back tears. She wanted to speak, to tell them that the cameras had never told the full story. That the pain people saw was real, yes. But so was the forgiveness, the laughter, the healing. The cameras had cut out the warmth and left only the wounds. But before she could gather herself, the footage shifted. The courtroom lights dimmed, and a child's trembling voice filled the air. "I don't tell anyone at school about my family. I'm scared they'll take me away." The room froze. The prosecutor hit pause. The silence that followed was louder than any gavel strike. The prosecutor turned to the jury, her eyes sharp as glass. "Children living in fear," she said softly, letting the words linger. "Is this acceptable?" Every soul in that room felt the question slice through them. Even Kody Brown, seated at the defense table, felt something break inside. His breath caught, and for the first time, the weight of every decision, every episode, every confession on national television came crashing down. He had wanted to change perceptions, to show America that plural love could be sacred, not scandalous. But now he wondered, had he only delivered his family into the jaws of the world's judgment? The defense attorney stood, voice calm but trembling with urgency. "Your Honor," he said, "may I address the jury?" The judge nodded. The attorney stepped forward into the light that poured across the courtroom floor like a spotlight on a theater stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his tone almost tender, "what you have seen here today are moments, raw, emotional, and real, but not the whole truth." He paused, scanning their faces. Reality television is designed for entertainment, not understanding. Scenes are edited, rearranged, stripped of context until what's left is conflict without compassion. Would you want your worst days televised to millions? Would you want your family's hardest moments to define who you are? A murmur rippled through the room. Even the jury shifted uneasily in their seats. Then the defense motioned to the screen. let's watch something else, he said quietly. The lights dimmed again. This time, the footage showed a birthday celebration. Balloons, laughter, children shouting with joy. Kody spun his young daughter in the air as she giggled, her tiny hands clutching his shoulders. The attorney turned back to the jury. Does this look like a house of harm? Clip after clip followed. Christine and Mary, mid-argument, resolving it with an embrace in the kitchen. Janelle sitting with the children during homework, offering quiet words of encouragement. Messy, the defense said softly, but real, loving, forgiving. That's family. The judge leaned forward. The jury will consider the full picture, he cautioned, but the damage had been done, on both sides. What once began as a televised dream of faith and unity had become an autopsy of love. Every decision, every tear, every secret lay dissected on the table for the world to consume. When the judge called a recess, the Browns gathered in the hallway, tired, hollow, and haunted. Maybe this was a mistake, Janelle whispered. Maybe we should never have let them film. Christine shook her head, tears gathering at the corners of her eyes. We wanted people to understand us, not fear us, she said, voice breaking. But all they ever show is the hurt. Robyn knelt beside her children, clutching them close. They don't see the healing, she murmured. Kody stood apart, pacing, raking his hands through his hair. I thought we could control the story, he said bitterly. But once you open the door to the world, you can't ever close it again. Are you mad at me? He asked quietly, turning to his eldest son. Logan lowered his eyes. Not mad, he said. Just tired. It's hard watching my childhood become evidence. When the trial resumed, the prosecutor called a media analyst to the stand who testified. The Browns had final approval over much of the show. They wanted the spotlight. That means they must accept the consequences. The defense countered by bringing the show's producer to the stand. The Browns were brave, she said firmly. They led us into their lives, not to exploit them, but to tell their truth. The show was never an exposé. It was a portrait. Still, the damage was irreversible. Outside every news outlet was ablaze. Headlines screamed from every screen. Sister wives on trial. Faith or fraud? The Browns under fire. Kody left the courtroom that day hollowed out. His dream of showing America that plural love could be beautiful had turned into a public reckoning. As he stepped through the courthouse doors, the sky hung gray and heavy above him. Reporters shouted his name. Cameras flashed. He didn't look up. He didn't wave. He just whispered, almost to himself. I wanted them to see our hearts, not our scars. Behind him, his family followed in silence. That day, the trial had proven one thing beyond doubt. Fame can give you a voice. But sometimes, that voice becomes your own accuser. That voice becomes your own accuser. An anonymous tip had sparked concern about the well-being of the Brown children. Investigators visited their home multiple times, interviewing each child, inspecting bedrooms, play areas, and even reviewing school and medical records. The defense attorney objected, questioning relevance, but Judge Watkins cut him off. The welfare of the children is at the core of this case, he stated firmly. Miss Collins, the child welfare specialist, took the stand. The house is cluttered, yes, but orderly. The children are fed, dressed, and attend school daily. But several children expressed unease about outsiders learning their family's situation. Some struggle to understand their relationships with siblings, unsure where they belong. The prosecutor pressed further. Did any of the children report fear for their safety? No, Miss Collins replied. None reported abuse or neglect. Their greatest fear is secrecy. They're terrified of losing their family, of being removed by the state. Kody felt a constriction in his chest. He had anticipated risks in living so openly, but hearing that his children feared being torn apart, fearful of losing each other, struck a pain he hadn't expected. Miss Collins, in your professional judgment, the prosecutor asked, does the atmosphere in the Brown home pose a risk to the children's emotional or psychological health? Miss Collins paused. It's complicated. The children clearly adore one another and their parents. Yet they live with constant anxiety about discovery. The tension among adults is palpable. Christine Brown's recent departure has only intensified this instability. Christine, straightening slightly as her name was spoken, glanced at her children. They sat quietly, faces tense but composed. The prosecutor called her to the stand again. Mrs. Brown, you've requested sole custody. Why do you believe that is in your children's best interest? Christine's voice was calm but carried the weight of emotion. My children need stability. They need to know where they are and that they're safe. I left to give them the chance at a normal life, a life where they don't live in fear of being taken from me. Do you consider Mr. Brown's home unsafe? The prosecutor asked. Christine shook her head. Not unsafe, but unstable. The constant tension, uncertainty, shifting relationships between adults, it's too much. My children need peace. Kody's attorney rose for cross-examination. Christine, you've testified that Kody loves his children. Isn't it true he's always provided for them, supported their education, and spent time with them? Yes, Christine admitted. He's always tried. But love alone isn't enough. Sometimes the environment is too chaotic. The defense then called Kody to the stand. His eyes glistened with tears he tried to hide. They're my entire universe. Every choice I've made, good or bad, was for them. Our family isn't normal, but our love is real. I want to witness every birthday, every crisis. The thought of losing even one of them. He trailed off, the words choking him. The attorney pressed gently. What would losing custody mean to you? Kody swallowed hard. It would destroy me. I'd do anything to keep my family together. Robyn, who had remained silent until now, rose. The judge allowed it. Her voice trembled. These kids need each other. They need all their parents. We're not perfect, but we're their family. The prosecutor challenged her. Mrs. Robyn Brown, isn't it true that tensions between adults have sometimes created a toxic environment? Robyn nodded, voice heavy with sadness. Yes, we've struggled and argued. But there's always love. Kids see that. They see us trying to work things out. Isn't that what families do? The court then reviewed therapy sessions and school counselor remarks. Anxiety, difficulty concentrating, and fear of being different were noted, but so were moments of sibling support, academic success, and compassion. Judge Watkins requested a private session for the children to speak freely, without cameras or reporters. One adolescent daughter whispered, "I love my mom and dad. I just wish they would stop fighting. I wish I could stay with my sisters." A younger son added, "I don't want to live somewhere different. I want my brothers with me." An older boy said softly, "We've always been different. I'm proud of my family. I just wish people would leave us alone." The judge listened, expression unreadable, scribbling notes. When the children returned to their mothers, many embraced, some sobbing quietly in relief. Back in the main courtroom, Judge Watkins addressed both sides. "I have heard the voices that matter most. The children's welfare comes first, stability, love, and freedom from fear." A custody evaluator summarized her findings. The Browns are a unique family. There is real love, but also chronic stress. I recommend shared custody. Primary physical custody for Mrs. Brown, with regular visitation for Mr. Brown and his other wives. Children's preferences should be considered whenever possible. Christine exhaled, relief and sadness mingling on her face. Kody's shoulders slumped. A silent acknowledgement that living together as a single household might be over. As the day ended, the Browns stepped outside. Media swarmed, calling questions. Christine clung to her children. Kody stood among his remaining wives, each silently calculating what had been lost and what remained to salvage. In a quiet hallway, the siblings joined hands. "No matter what happens, we're still family. We'll visit every weekend. FaceTime every night." Even as legal proceedings threatened to separate them, their bond remained, a stubborn testament to love tested through public scrutiny and private pain. Night fell over the city. Kody sat alone, replaying his children's words. Had his attempts to hold the family together inadvertently sped its unraveling? He prayed that, regardless of the judge's decision, his children would remember laughter, love, and lessons more than tears. He realized then that the ultimate challenge of a parent's love isn't holding on, it's knowing when to let go. The courtroom held its breath as the prosecutor leaned forward, voice edged with steel. "Some claim you became Kody's favorite once you married him legally. Is that true?" Robyn swallowed, her throat tight, tears threatening to fall. "I know that's what everyone says, but it's not true," she whispered. "Kody and I struggled too. The cameras never saw the nights I wept, the remorse I felt. I never wanted anyone to suffer. I just wanted to fit in." A hush settled over the room. Even Janelle, Mary, and Christine, sitting together, their old grievances temporarily suspended, regarded Robyn with quiet sympathy. They understood the weight she had carried, the unseen toll of her choices. The prosecutor pressed on. "When you signed those legally binding documents, did you realize you were facilitating an illegal situation?" Robyn's voice wavered. "I knew it was controversial. But our lives, They were already complicated. I signed to protect my children, to give them a name, a home. If I could have given that same security to all of them, I would have. I felt trapped. Either way, someone would be hurt. The prosecutor's gaze softened. How did the legal marriage affect your children? Her voice cracked. My older children finally felt safe. They could go to the doctor, attend school without questions. But the younger ones, they grew up confused. They saw tension, pain. I tried to hide it, but you can't hide everything from children. The defense attorney rose, approaching Robyn with warmth. Tell the court about your relationship with Kody before the legal marriage. Robyn smiled faintly, recalling the early days. We met through friends. I saw in him devotion to family, gentleness. I wanted to be part of that. I didn't see him as a prize. I saw him as a partner, something bigger than ourselves. Did you ever request to be the legal wife? No, she said firmly. Equality for all of us was what I wanted. The legal wedding was pragmatic, not competitive. I never demanded more time, attention, or love than the others. If anything, I stepped back, encouraged Kody to spend time with the others. The family came first, always. And allegations that you caused issues within the family? Robyn's voice shook. It hurts. People blame me for Christine leaving, for Mary's pain, for everything. But I'm just trying my best. I love this family. I never wanted anyone hurt. The attorney produced a letter from one of Robyn's children. Reading aloud, my mom is strong. She listens. She tries to make things better. She is the heart of our family. The courtroom stilled, emotion palpable. Some jurors dabbed at their eyes. Even the judge seemed caught in the moment. Robyn took a deep breath. Being a legal wife? It's lonely. People think it means you've won something. It doesn't. You are both a bridge and a wall. You hold everyone's hopes and resentments. It's heavy. But I would do it again. For my children, for my sister wives, for their children. I wish we had all had the same protections. The prosecutor asked the final question. Do you regret your decisions? Robyn's eyes shimmered with tears. I'm sorry for the hurt, but I'm not sorry for loving this family. I'm not sorry for fighting for my children. Love is never something to be sorry for. The courtroom held a collective breath as Robyn returned to her seat. Kody smiled at her, gratitude and emotion in his eyes. The other wives nodded, a silent acknowledgement, a fleeting reconciliation. When Kody took the stand, the air grew tense, thick with exhaustion and scrutiny. Reporters, jurors, and family alike watched as he adjusted his tie, took a deep breath, and faced his reality. I chose this life because I believe in love, he said, voice trembling. Plural marriage was a calling, not coercion. I never intended to hurt anyone. I only wanted to provide, protect, and love. He described chaotic Sunday nights, children laughing and squabbling, mothers navigating tension and jealousy. It's messy. It's loud. But it's loving. My children aren't confused. They have more love than most kids ever will. The defense pressed him further on accusations of control. Kody's tone softened. I never wanted to control anyone. Christine left to be happy. I respected that. Mary needs space. I'll provide that. I want all my wives to be happy, whether with me or not. I've made mistakes, but my goal has always been to build something lasting, something beautiful. He spoke of faith, hope, and regret, acknowledging that their visibility on television had consequences. I wanted people to see us as real, not monsters. But I didn't understand the cost. I see it now and I'm sorry. Hours passed. The jury deliberated. Outside, crowds held signs for and against the Browns. The world debated their choices, morality, and faith. Inside, the family clung to each other. Kody held Robyn's hand. Mary rested on his shoulder. Janelle comforted the youngest children, and Christine shielded her own. Time stretched impossibly, each second heavy with anticipation. Then, the beef announced, the jury has reached a verdict. The Browns gathered, hearts pounding. The foreperson read aloud, on the charge of bigamy, not guilty. On the charge of fraud, not guilty. On the charge of child endangerment, not guilty. Relief, disbelief, and joy washed over them. Mary cried in Kody's arms. Robyn whispered to her baby, we're safe. Even Christine offered a nod of respect. The judge added a solemn directive, custody orders and counseling to safeguard the children. The family would heal slowly together. Outside, the press surged. Some cheered, others jeered. Social media erupted. Brown family, forever, justice for the children. Inside, in a private room, the Browns finally breathed. Kody hugged his children fiercely. We made it. We're still here. I love you all. Mary reached for him. We can't go back. But we can do better. Janelle smiled, holding the youngest. We're stronger than we think. These kids are proof. Christine knelt beside her daughter. No more hiding. No more pretending. We start new now. Robyn held Kody's hand. We need real help, Kody, not just prayers, therapy, for all of us. Kody nodded, humbled. Whatever it takes. The sun set as the Browns left the courthouse, battered but intact, ready to face a future built not on headlines or judgment, but on love, resilience, and the messy, unflinching truth of family. Resilience and the messy, unflinching truth of family.